As to the cattle business, I thoroughly enjoyed all that we did. We had 2 4-wheel drive pickups with a heavy rack on the back, and 2 pickup beds where with a heavy rack on the back, and the frames had been cut into and then made into a I can't think of what it.
Oh,
anyway,
a trailer?
A trailer, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that I could haul at least 4 wild cows at a time out of that mountain. And it was a long, slow, over the rocks and through the woods, etc. But we hauled lots of cattle down out of there. So what you have to do is gently round the cattle up. If you find 2 or 3 on this hillside, you go up above and you get their attention and you start slowly moving them, and they'll move away from you. And I learned very early on that when you get cattle, say you have a herd of 6 or 8 cows that you're trying to get to go through a gate into here, if you push them, they'll turn around and face you and never go. But you take your time. Pretty soon, one of them will start through that gate, and when they do, the rest of them will follow. There is an art to herding cattle on the range, and the other thing I learned is that you have to talk to them. And when my wife would do it, she'd say, "Shoo, shoo," and very quickly they ignored her. You have to make a noise, and you have to keep changing it. And at one time, I had a whole series of noises I would make, and that way they know you're behind them, and you keep them going. It was my responsibility to make it work. And that's kind of scary because I didn't know I'd never been in the cattle business before, but I learned in a hurry. And I discovered that whatever you're trying to do, if you keep your mind on it and learn as you go and listen to other people who know how, you can make things work.
During your 40s and 50s, what were some of your greatest pleasures?
The teardrop shape.
Driving a bulldozer,
Okay. Then that's the golden wedding.
being with my children around this table that carried. For a period of time, we had 12 people. We didn't eat noon together, but we all ate together at breakfast and supper, and we had some of the greatest. Some of it was very serious. Some of it was so funny you couldn't stop laughing. But those meal times were very excellent. What you do is you discover what things you, number 1, don't enjoy doing, number 2, don't do very well, and you don't do those. You make a list of things. In other words, early on, I quit doing any kind of contested domestic relations, especially if it involved any kind of child custody battle. I was not good at that at all, so I quit doing it. And I felt like I could be very helpful to people in estate planning, and I did a lot of bankruptcies and helped people through that, and things like that where I could. The other thing I discovered I could do that was helpful to people, if they'd come to me with a problem, I would hear them out, and then I would, when it was my turn, I would tell them point blank, I think this is something you can accomplish, or I would tell them, there's nothing you can do about this. The die is cast, you pay your money and make the most of it and quit fighting over it, because it's only going to cause further hard feelings. The most important thing about it was the last 5 or 6 years after we were through at the temple and we were practicing here. Your mother was my secretary, and we were a very good team, Jordan. we got along beautifully. It was so interesting to see that happen.
During your 40s and 50s, what do you think you were learning about yourself?
Back up
to lose myself in the service of others. It was a very simple thing. Let me tell you a personal thing. When I received the call to serve as the stake president when Stan Turley was released, President Monson was the visitor, and he said, "Now, Brother Udall, President Udall, I give you this advice. Don't take yourself too seriously. You're still the same guy you were before you received this call. However," he said, "you have to take the job very, very seriously, because while you have the responsibility, nobody else can do it." And there's a great truth in that, and that was helpful to me. My dad had taken me aside when I got out of the Army in 1945 or whatever, 45. And he said, "Son, one of the logical things now for you, you're going to need to get married." He said, "I give you this bit of advice. Choose a girl who comes from good stock." And I thought to myself, Dad, I'm not starting a herd of cattle or race horses or anything. I don't know what you're talking about. But I did exactly that. Your grandmother has a keen mind. She was an excellent student, and everybody loved her, especially all the boys.
What do you think were the dreams your parents had for their children?
His dad wanted one of them to be the governor or the president.
And I heard him. He didn't know I was listening, and I wasn't eavesdropping. I just happened to walk through, and he was sitting in our old house down here on the corner where Cloughs live now, talking to Pratt Tenney, who was a neighbor. And he said, as his children are coming along, he said he had visions of them being members of the legislature, maybe one of the boys being a bishop somewhere, and that sort of thing. He said, by the time Ken was 11, he said, "I'd give everything I owned if they just all stayed out of jail." Everything will work out. I may stumble and fall and make some dumb decisions, etc. But if I just hang on, I'd be able to use my own diligence and ingenuity and etc. And things tend to work out.
Which have been the happiest times in your life?
All of them. All of them. There have been times that were deeply gratifying, like our mission service, being in the temple. I think the most uplifting time in our life is when we served in the temple.
Finish this sentence. All my life I've had a sense that...
Things would work out.
That things will work out.
If you were to be honored for something in your life, what would it be?
Being a good father.
Being a good father.
And forgetting myself in that. Lose myself in that. And therefore, having an influence beyond that. Good grandfather, good etc.
What would you like your children to know about you?
Without bragging, what I would like them to know is that they have my absolute, unqualified love and support. I would give my life for any one of them.
What 3 statements would tell the most about your philosophy of life?
The church is true. God has been good to us. And in a very literal, deep way right now, because of our current situation, the best is yet to come. Literally.